everybody, welcome to another stream on this wonderful Sunday afternoon, at least in my time zone. How is everybody doing? Hey, EggBR, welcome to the stream. Hello there. Heya, Woof 2001. Goo Codes, hello. Nice to see you around. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, today, after yesterday, which was a lot of fun, and the VOD will come up in a bit on YouTube. Still has to process a few things, and I have to go over it, add a few chapter marks. We will have a look into more Nuxt-specific things, so without further ado, maybe start straight away and jumping into the code and have a look what we're doing, or maybe in the browser. Maybe it's a good start first. So, perfect. You don't see anything. That is totally fine. Let's select the right option here, and there we go. So let's have a look on GitHub. Of course, the Nuxt.js repository, and we have a few PRs and issues that I am tagged, that I want to do, that I am also assigned. So let's check out a few PRs that are up, and it should be just one. That's something I definitely want to tackle today. Having a look at that, let me zoom in a little bit for you. Definitely want to implement that. The good part is, as already mentioned, there is a PR up. There are a few things that this will resolve. The only thing is that the CI fails right now, as we see down here, for some server component related things. Hey, ACM Lopez, nice to see you back after yesterday. Glad you joined. Hey, Prog DevBook, Mehmet, nice to see you. Hello. Yeah, so let's have a look at the CI here. We see that some fixtures are failing, quite a few also mainly related to component islands, and that is in a way expected. So we'll see how to make that work. Before we go into that, let's summarize what a PR actually is about. So the idea is we have these teleports, right? So you can say you render some content in your components totally like somewhere else in your HTML document. Ideally, I know the lowest possible. So some modals are like not blocked by other components. And they're also not necessarily nested and get all that nested styles and so on and so on. So we have teleports. The problem is in SSR, it's a bit tricky, especially when we talk about hydration SR teleports. So right now, at the moment, teleports to the body are only supported and they might break here and there. So there are actually two issues that are related to that. So the first one is actually that teleports behave differently in SSR and on client side, which is correct. We can't let's have a look. That's pretty easy to see. Yeah. On the client side, down here, it would be, or like ideally, it would be prepended, right? But right now, the SSR teleports will be appended because otherwise hydration will fail. And that's not that nice. So one way to work around this is to choose a totally different target. Let's see. And maybe let's also open the the Vue.js org one. Here we go. And take the same code over here. And we do it to body, that's fine, app.vue. So let's ignore the client only part. But if we say, okay, a client teleport, and we have a look at what's happening here in the dev tools, we're seeing, okay, I'll make it a little bit bigger for you. There is in here the body, right? Then we have our app over here, so the whole thing. And then we have the teleport, right? But on the server side, this is actually swapped. So this would be over here. Doesn't make a huge difference, but the problem is if libraries lie on behavior, yeah, that can be a bit meh. And yeah, SSR here, we'll see what this actually renders. That won't help us that much. The point is, what the PR that I'm working on is targeted at is that we want a certain total different elements. So we don't really interfere with the app's hydration, just say like render it outside of the app scope and HTML. So we want to change that. Right now we prepend that doesn't align. And also Evan recommended, for example, on this issue here, hey, let's just have a total different element for teleports. All right. If a person works on Sunday, he's not of this world. He's a productive person, strong. You're great. Thanks. Thank you so much. To be fair, this is in a way it's work, but also in a way it's lots of fun. And I like to do open source because in a way, yeah, it's work on the one hand, it's hobby on the other. It's really difficult to differentiate there. But nevertheless, yeah, happy to do that and happy to take you on that journey as well. Okay, so what do we have here? Maybe let's just check that out in the code and see how things are going. So let's move back to the code, and let me quickly enable my automatic scene switcher so you actually can see things when I switch, so I don't have to do it manually. Okay. Of course, the PR was based on fixed teleports. It was meant as a fix originally, but now we don't fix it. We actually introduced these app teleports. So it is still in a way a fix, but yeah, you get it. Okay, first thing you could do is maybe rebase on main. Okay, let's not rebase on main. Let's merge main maybe into it and see, because there were a few changes, I think. But it looks fine. Okay, nice. We also synced it up there. That's okay. Don't need that much here. And in the same time, we want to check which tests failed, right? So that would be everything related to component islands. Let's, exclude that. It's fine. Component islands. Here. Yes, so this whole test suite of like, okay, that didn't work correctly. We changed a few things in the renderer. I think we can just have a look at the app teleport, or how did I name it? Something with teleport for sure. It's been a while I worked on that, so bear with me. I think it was in the renderer somewhere. Yeah, we have test here to Nuxt teleport. That's correct, and we have to check these in a bit. So these are also still the tests that are related to that. That's right. We have the teleport ID, which is important. If you look for teleport ID, we have that here. Yep, that's fine. So we test that. The teleport tag is important. We have that here too. And other than that, where do we apply that? I think, let's not search for full word. Yeah, app teleport tag. There we go, in the renderer. Hey there, Frozen Spirit TV. Welcome back. Glad to see you a second day as well. Okay, so we have the app teleport ID here, and we say in our render template function, okay, Nuxt teleports based on if app teleport tag and ID are set. That's both important. If they're not set or none of these, it won't work. We render the whole thing, and then it should just be an empty element by default, right? That makes sense. That's valid. So that's okay. And eventually we say we add the base and the Nuxt teleports here. Maybe, you know what, let's quickly install dependencies or update dependencies and run the tests. How are you today? Anything good? Yeah, I'm fine. Did a little bit of repotting plants before. Went to buy some pots before that. So yeah, had a good Sunday so far. I'm productive in a way. Okay. How are you? How are you doing, everybody? Okay, the other thing what we want to test is we had the span, so that would be nice. And we set a Nuxt teleport, I think was the name we set. Okay, there are a few. Normal content, the Nuxt teleport in the span. Yeah, that's okay. So this one we should definitely test if that's the work. So teleports here, and that's just the basics. So maybe we do, fine, thanks, sunny Sunday. Yeah, sunny. Well, we have pouring rain here in Amsterdam, so good it's sunny for you. I'm happy to hear that. I think we have to stop. I probably did that before, we'll see. And then we wanna technically, hey, Domo VFX, thanks for the follow and welcome to the stream. Maybe let's run pm test prepare, just so we actually have these prepared there. And then we then this builds the fixtures. Oh, Mehmet, thanks a lot for the follow. Much appreciated. And now we can just run technically the test thing, or we could just say, we'll just run a basic test, because this is what we need to test the component items and also our renderer. So let's have a look. This will load a little bit, that's fine. And we see how things will go eventually. That's okay. And hopefully not too many will fail. Ideally, the teleports test should still work. And then we have local component islands. Brewed my coffee and watching to learn some stuff from me. Okay, nice. I hope I can share a few things. And as usual, if there are questions, drop them in as it should be. Okay, yeah, install Playwright, sure. Excuse me. That should be the right method, but it's... Oh, okay, there we go. Why don't you use VS Code View Word Wrap? Yeah, I could do that, it's true. I'm not a big fan of Word Wrap, I rather scroll because otherwise, I mean, I can just turn it on. It's usually cluttered a bit too much for me, but we can try it, why not? Okay, let's run the tests and see if this will work. Fine. In the meantime, we open the renderer again. And there's a question. If you're to build SaaS with Nuxt, let's say, what would be a rule of thumb what to test? Yeah. I built a few projects. I think testing, it depends as usual. I would definitely make sure that there are mission critical parts that these are tested. Like, I don't know, if you have a purchase process, right, that this definitely works. If I don't know, if something is styled wrongly or something can't read something, people will report it at some point, but it doesn't break the application, right? But other than that, it's really important to test the things that should work and have to work to either like make the customers pay or like the most critical features that they are good and going. And otherwise, like end-to-end tests, of course, they are exactly for that. You can expand them for more and more features, but they also take some time to run. So, and sometimes also a bit difficult, especially once again with payment. Okay, sure, you can use the fake data and so on, and that should work. But still, that might be a bit more complex to set up if you haven't done that. But that would be my rule of thumb. Other than that, what I really like to do is if I have some kind of helpers that are contextless, like, I don't know, in a project I built a migration script recently, and together with another dev. And while doing like pair programming, I thought, okay, there's a really simple method, and we don't like want to mess that up. So because it's a migration script, right? It might only run once, but it's still helpful to just say, okay, this is contextless. It's just like, okay, get some input, get some output, really easy to test. Let's definitely test that and make sure the cases are covered, especially when there are lots of complex cases that you don't want to manually test again. These things are really helpful. And if that helper works, then that's a good chance the rest will go fine. Not 100% one, but then you realize after migration script ran and you see, oh, the helper went wrong, it can take a while. So I think everything that's hard or like more difficult to test manually would be something. That's that. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. Have you tried ni by unfoo detects package managers? Nix, we do it here. Yeah. Actually, I have used it for a bit. I didn't install it on that machine. I might do in the future, but yeah, definitely it's a good tool. Okay, and these run islands fail here. Component as these fail, these will fix, and the rest is nice and shiny, I would say. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So what's wrong with the component island test? I'm like this a bit bigger. So it's a really good point. This shouldn't happen, right? So the idea is we render here for whatever reason this underscore Nuxt, which shouldn't be the case, and then the whole thing comes, the whole component island part, and there's the end, and then we have diff from the underscore Nuxt, and then we have the Nuxt teleports part, and this shouldn't happen for component island. So we might want to have a look into why this happens, because the rest should be fine, and fix that. So let's see. Let's just assume I don't know much about the code. We already know we changed a few things in renderer. So let's dive in there and see what we can do. We also have island renderer in here. I don't think we have to like do much here, but we'll see in a sec. Here's one for the fun, not a real question. What's the most absurd thing you can do with Nuxt? Good one. Most absurd. So this is a really fun one. Puya suggested it once, I think last year for VGS Amsterdam. I feel like, okay, what could I submit talk title wise? And spoiler alert, maybe you know that eventually I wasn't picked to give a talk there, but I did a bit of emceeing, was still around, was lots of fun. And he said like, yeah, you know, Nuxt supports WASM, right? So that's cool. And you can compile PHP to WASM. So technically you could write PHP in Nuxt. And I was like, this sounds like crazy. It's really funny, but I also think I wouldn't have like a big chance being picked because it's so absurd and crazy in a way. Like it's fun to show capabilities. And I think this is really, with WASM support, you can do crazy stuff. Please, let's focus for 25 minutes. No worries. I'm very happy context switching there. That's fine. But yeah, that's that. Okay. Yeah, item component found. It's fine. That's fine. We can check these later. They're built, but we don't need this. I think we can go back into the renderer. TS. There we go. So we have also something related to component islands here, like is rendering island is a check here, and then we get an island context, otherwise undefined, it's fine. We check if it's cached, also important. We get the URL, and I think somewhere down there we use the rendering function that I defined earlier. At render template, this, we might use that lower here, yeah. And I think this should work the same way with island components. I mean, we can just test that and figure it out. So one thing I want to check is, because I'm really bad at the shortcuts, we can just use a T, I think, for the pattern. Yeah, test name pattern. -T component. What is a component islands? Like this, I think. Then we can just test these. Let's check components. Perfect. Yeah, I'm getting guilty for focus switching past today's fair, but that's okay. I mean, once again, the stream is there to answer questions and not. I mean, that's why I'm here, right? Otherwise, you can also just watch a YouTube video of me doing that and not interacting. Looking forward to Puya's DB package. Yes, he teased it at Nuxt Nation. Yep. And hopefully we'll get in soon. Absolutely. I'm also looking forward to that. Let's see what DB0 is bringing up. First, though, cross WS for WebSocket support. This is what I'm looking forward to a lot. Okay, we can just render these in a second. Let's say we give not only the HTML here, because we also want to check if it is actually a component island. Oh, we can't, maybe. Because I want to use the default template for the component islands. That would be pretty nice. SPA renderer. Okay, pre-render cached. It's also get island context. We use that here. Where do we use the render function though? The template. Render template f, and it's here in render to string. Okay. Render to string. That's fine. Where do we use render to string? Let's do a whole word search. Yep, exactly. Thanks for posting the link. That's perfect. Okay, SPA renderer, that's fine. We have this here. And yes, okay. It's still interesting. We define this here for sure. We set the options. That makes sense. And we return the renderer for SSR. Yep. The problem is the SSR renderer works the same for component islands. So maybe it would be nice. We have the context here. Could we pass the context in somehow? Probably not. But somewhere here would be nice, like something like is component island, more or less, let's say, because this would be a vastly different rendering process then, and say if it's a component island, let's just do that. Let's imagine a world. If we need the base anyway, approved tag. Oh wait, do we need the base even? No. This should be not called at all when using component islands. That's a bit strange because that render template function. Okay, now, you know what? Let's do a simple console log. I'm called, and maybe HTML. And let's see what this will bring us. In the meantime, we have the island context here. Yeah, we'll move this in a second. Define render handler. SSR error. That's important for handling the error cases. We have this is rendering island. Nuxt async context not defined. That should not be the case. Okay. Weird errors everywhere. I failed. Wait, what? Okay, you know what? Let's pnpm test prepare. I think it was. Oh god, pnpm test prepare end. Let's try that. Okay. Is rendering island is here. Is we get the island context. We have that here. The URL will be set. If there's a payload or not, that's also important. Get the route rules. Create the server head. And the context. And we have if is rendering island. For the no SSR is also very interesting to see. Have payload extraction. We can ignore this part. And then we have the renderer saying, I don't know, SSR, SSR. And then we render this. Payload extractions, Nuxt inline styles, or yeah, okay, styles, resource hints, payloads, scripts, context. And oh, thank you so much. Oh god, now I have to butcher your name. I'm very sorry. Jusilano Guerra, I guess. Sorry if I butchered it. Thanks for the follow. And then the island head here. Yeah, that's correct. Island link, island style, and we get the island response. Maybe here we use okay. We get the body, and then I think that's the problem. So we say get server component HTML. That's perfect. It removes the root node from the HTML body. I think we have to adapt that regex here, which is based on this. And technically what happens is at get server component HTML, we'll just say, yeah, you know, take the body, remove that Nuxt thing around, and we're good to go. And that doesn't work anymore because, well, it's not matching the regex exactly because it says here, oh, nope, that's it. We can make it a bit less lenient, a bit more lenient, a bit less strict. We could also say, instead, we check if that matches or not. We have that information if this exists or not, and then add it here. Because right now, okay, this part is as we have it above. You see it's the same. This part here, yeah, also the same. But if you have teleports, that one doesn't match anymore. That one won't work. This will break. So what would be nice is maybe we can say, let's do this and say const app teleport regex is, yeah, something like that, which we have basically down here. It's more or less like we have here. It should be empty. It technically should be empty. Hi, how's it going? Hey, Aussie, but I didn't forget your question. I'll still come back to that. That's good. We're fixing fixing a PR I prepared. The thing is, it would be very nice to maybe leave this in here and say regex string or something. We'll find a better way when it works. And then we just do here, we add this, and then we can put the dollar in. Let's see if this actually goes as it should. Let's just do pnpm test prepare and and pnpm test. Oh, let's just do the prepare and then the basic once again. But I think with this it might work. We adapted regex. It's not most. Oh no, this won't work. I think. Let's adapt this because it can't be the start. Of course, it should be the end. Let's do basic TS once again. we can remove that I am called. And I think that could be already it. Because one more thing would be to check, let's say, this. Let's do, I have to do a bit above const has app teleports. Did it work? Oh, it still breaks for some reason. Okay, we'll check it in a second. We use has app teleports here, and otherwise we say has app teleports this, and here we just do an empty string because then we don't need to add anything. Okay. Very weird. Did we break something on top here? Oh, oops. Oops. Very weird that it breaks if I don't write valid code. Happens. All right. Let's run this again. Let's see where we're going with this. Lord Gies, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. All right, and now that the regex is fixed, so the root node regex is now aware of the app teleport regex. We still have the end, so it's still strict enough to not accidentally remove something that we don't want to remove. Anything in here could fit. I hope things will go well in any case. I think that should be fine because it's redirect infinite. Okay, and that might bring us to app teleports. We'll see when the tests finish. In the meantime, let's jump where we use that once again. We say, okay, let's check if there is a match. So if we say, okay, we can get the root node regex, wait. Oh, this is capturing. Ah, okay. We have to check because I think we don't. Still first match should be fine. Noob Coder, thanks a lot for the follow. We don't necessarily need that capture group here. We could probably also remove it. We'll see that in a bit because we don't want to capture any of these teleports. Because I think Nuxt have their own teleport, so we can ignore that. But as it would not be the first match anyway, we're good. Regex are always fun, let's say. But it's fine. All right. How are things going? Still running. Taking some time. In the meantime, while this is running, let's check out what else is up. So we did this. That seems fine. Let's yeah. Oh, okay. we will also look into that. Worst case, I will just quickly clean the branch and go for it again. That's fine. It's fine. We have no more outstanding pull requests, but let's check the issues because I know I am assigned to a few. One is the app teleport one. This we also checked yesterday. I will go through it anyway about user route params and user route queries. We might want until data loaders are fully available to make that work. And it works on client side right now. And I might want to write an RFC for that. So the idea is about handling state in the URL. Like it would be very nice if we could handle state in the URL by just setting a ref, and then it would sync it up, and other way around too. Like, oh, you have some URL state and the ref would change. This is basically the idea for Nuxt here. But I also agree with, well, anybody else writing here, especially Eduardo, for example, says like it would be nice to have that in ViewRouter directly, but no time for an RFC, which I understand. Eduardo is busy. I totally get it. So I hope I can write that when the time allows, which means also not tomorrow, but it's on the list. So yeah, that was that. And there's one, I think that would be nice to tackle today, reuse getCachedData when refreshing asyncData. So it actually came from a comment from Brooks, shout out in this case, from one of the YouTube videos here that I made, where it is about get cache data, which you might already know, to cache data on the client side. And And the problem is that will only work if you do not call refresh. So there's a little bit of behavior that won't change in there. Okay, and yeah, we wanna adapt that. So there's a little bit of discussion here and there, and I hope we can work around this. So I have some ideas how to resolve that with like a force parameter to actually also have a way to clean the cache or to reset the cache if you want to. We'll see. Back to that, things pass. Nice, that works. Let's I guess let's push it, right? Fix allow. Well, technically we have to do it again, but fix remove teleports and root from the server components or component islands as expected. Oh yeah, save and commit all. Let's sync that. I see there were some merge conflicts, probably. Oh really? Okay. Fun. Why? I wonder. Okay. A higher amount. We can work around it later. Maybe I'll just take the code and quickly clean it up. There is. Where's that one? Here. Which is it the same? Am I one more space or something? Yeah, wow. Yeah, okay. And a lot of things. Okay, maybe we should go easy on that and change it up. But anyway, let's see once again if and how the tests will work here. That's the most important part. Yeah, I think I will quickly just get the code that was actually changed, because there were not 7 files. I think there were like 2 or something, and quickly reset it. Yeah. Okay. Or maybe just reset hard, force push a bit later on. Oh, nice. Browser froze because of the files. That sometimes happen with a weird extension anyway. Yeah, so we will change this, and we will change everything up to here. So let's maybe do a hard reset and keep the other changes in mind. These, which is pretty straightforward. Okay, let's do that. Let's get it commit. Let's just do git merge abort. Let's do git reset hard to this commit. Lovely. We still have, we still have, we don't need to save these. We fixed the island renderer as we did before with, no, where is it? This one. So let's just do view raw. Has teleports. Let's just get all these and go to render template function. In renderer ts, we say render function, render template function. Oops. And let's get this bit of linting. And let's do the fix again. Fix what we did before. Let's do a little force push because, yeah. Here we go again. Yes, exactly. I try and beat Daniel's streaming hours. Oh no, definitely not. I just use the time that I have to stream right now because I really wish I could have like a let's say a more fixed schedule. But right now I'm just like popping in where I can, where it feels right. But yeah. And I thought I really like the idea of Daniel saying, hey, let's show how to work with or on the framework. So in a way, I also hold myself accountable. It's like, hey, these are the PRs and issues I want to triage or fix. So yeah, I think that would be nice, and that kind of works. Okay, anything else that we can close this that we missed in here? I don't think so. We had just these changes. Now, ideally, this will pass. Yeah, autofix CI is running. That's fine. Build. You know what? Let's just do update branch as well, and we'll come back to that when it works. Are you using experimental type pages options in your project? I wonder how many people use it. It's such a good option. I use it in some. I don't use it in all. But yeah, it's a great option. It's really helpful as a context. Let's go to Nuxt.com and look for experimental features, which are here. And there are a few. So let's find the typed pages. They're not, I think, not in alphabetical order. Type pages is here. And the idea is we get the typed router through unplug and view router. And you have the option then to get types for your routes, also for your route parameters by using a proper route name. And that's pretty amazing. Definitely. It's lovely. I get the question actually every now and then, like, why is this feature experimental? Like, why is there, will something break? Is it not working? In general, like these experimental things are sometimes I think a bit misunderstood, because experimental doesn't mean unstable or not finished in a way. It's more that, or like broken. It's more that, for example, for unplug and view router, the API might change in the future. So we say, okay, that's an experimental feature. If you want to use it, there could be breaking changes that might not be even Nuxt's fault, but just like the underlying things. And instead of saying, oh, this breaks, now we have to wait for a next major to update that, or put it behind another weird flag, and so on. I think it would be better, and that's not only my thoughts, to put it into experimental, saying, hey, you know what? That thing might change in the future. So you can use it, pin your version, take a look at the change logs, or have some proper tests, or all of that to cover that. And then you're good to go. Also, that applies to lots of other things, right? Like, for example, component islands. They work, they're amazing, but we still are not done in a way as in, okay, you can use it, that will never change. Like, for example, there was a rewrite from Julian. Also, shout out at that moment to him. He did amazing work on server components. And there's also the point that, like, it's usable, but it might change in the future, API-wise, for example. Of course, bug fixes and so on. Also, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, look at this. We have type support. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Type support and the full thing in the Nuxt config. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, camera only. Thank you. There we go. Sorry. There it is. There it is. Amazing support in the docs. Thanks. Thanks to 2slash and ShikiG or ShikiJS and so on. There, like, Anthony did some amazing work on that, and that can also work on your own documentation if you want to, right? This you can set it up nowadays, and this is built with Nuxt content under the hood, right? So that's pretty lovely. Also, of course, the whole Nuxt.com website is open source. So if you go to Nuxt/Nuxt.com, it's all in here. And then we see that some things were happening. Yeah, I agree. It's really lovely. It doesn't work for all blogs right now, I think, but for most of them. And then it's really nice to see, like, okay, what else is possible? Or what is happening here? As you also might see, like, if we hover over this, it's like set an alternative watcher that will be used and so on. This is the text from above here, right? We also extract these things from the TS docs or JS docs, or the schema docs from the Nuxt repository. So this will always be in sync and up to date, not out of date, which is also very lovely. But as you see, sometimes it doesn't work yet because we don't have like a reference, for example, but in most cases, this will work fine. All right. Oh, autofix CI applied some stuff. That's okay. The rest was canceled. Perfect. We're good to go. And while this is running, yeah, maybe let's take a stab on this. So we don't have a reproduction yet right now. I think I provided one later. Let's see. So we have this wonderful repo. I'll also like increase that a little bit, and we can. I think we can close it. It's not nothing else there. App.view is boring, I think. Yeah. Okay. So let's wait to boot it up. Perfect. So we use the good old IcanHasDatJog API. I love to use that in my talks because it's really fast to get things up and running. We have getCachedData, which basically in this case just says, and if you watched the video, you already know that, if you got the data once, then reuse it. You can write anything you want in here technically to say like, oh yeah, if there's a certain value after a certain time, do some stuff. And the interesting part is if I now hit refresh, it doesn't use the data, right? So we don't have a way right now to say, okay, we don't want the cache, we want to keep the cache data. If we change it right now, that also updates that, right? And the point of that reuse cache data here is like, okay, it would be very nice to have a local useFetch call if you reuse that with refresh, for example, to make sure to use that getCachedData, unless there is a way to say, hey, with a force parameter, for example, let's say, hey, please clear the cache, you're good to go. Technically, this force parameter is not necessarily needed because in your logic itself, you could already implement it. You could say in a getCachedData function, oh, there's a ref, if something changes, update this. Or return nothing, which will mean refetch. But I think that force parameter still could help. So let's have a look how these things look like, and yeah, and jump into it. And as usual, if you have any questions, please let me know. Let's not go to Mian, but to main. Let's create a new branch, which will just be feed getCachedData refresh. Yeah, I think something like that should be fine. And we can just use the playground to have a look at that. I know we have to go to asyncData, which is the underlying base of useFetch as well. So if you change it here, it will work everywhere. So the idea. And here we also have that getCachedData somewhere. There we set getCachedData, which is, there's also a default one. That's also fine. So, and here we check if there is cache data. If there's a nullish value, then there is not. That's very important. So if getCachedData returns null or undefined, it will refetch data. And then we say, okay, we set if there's getCachedData, if that exists, that will be set. I think even someone asked recently, like, oh, why is this executed twice? And here's actually the answer. Because if we take a look, we resolve that, if the key is already fetched, it will be called to check if there actually is cache data, and it will be set initially here for the data. And probably even executed here. Could be even optimized a little bit, but it should be fine. That's maybe for another matter. Okay, so we have this underscore initial. I think also someone mentioned that in a PR, or no, in the feature request. It says like, okay, if options initial is set, or Nuxt is hydrating, and options initial is not false, so it's maybe unset. Yeah. And there is cache data, then return that. And that's one thing. And I think if I dug like a little bit in that before, probably just didn't have the branch anymore. Like ideally, we always should just check, oh, if there's cache data, go for it. Unless there is the force option provided, I would say. And that's all in refresh, and refresh and execute are also the same. So that might be an option. Let's have a little sit after 45 minutes. So We'll move down here and take a look at that. So let's say, how is refresh called? Refresh is called here at the initial fetch. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. It's called in watch without the initial part, right? Okay. And it's also called on app data refresh, right? Which is a hook that could be used probably by refresh NuxtData or something like that. Called parallel app data refresh for refresh NuxtData. Nice. So there's called as well. And I think we have, I think that's it. Yeah, okay. That's just the definition. Okay, so how do we tackle that? Let's have another look. Oh, Sonic Astra, thanks a lot for the follow. Let's have another look on the whole thing. So what I wrote down back then, when refreshing the data, either we are calling refresh manually or implicitly using it for the watch property. Yeah, makes sense. Or by defining reactive parameters like query and useFetch options, there's no option to reuse the cache data. That's correct. Reason behind this is that we only take cache data into account when Nuxt is hydrating or on the initial request of the composable. We figured it out here too. Yeah, makes sense. Spontaneous idea, well, not so spontaneous anymore, given that was 4 months ago. Well, December, January, yeah, something like that. Let's say 3. Add a force parameter for refresh, so manual refresh calls can bypass the getCachedData function if necessary. By default, this can be set to true if you want to avoid breaking changes. Reasonable. Set force to false by default for watch. This is a behavior change, but when implementing an own getCachedData function, you can take this into account easily in there. Projects not using the getCachedData function should not be impacted. So if you say you have a property and you watch that, then you can set force to false by just saying, hey, there's a query parameter, I watch that, I use getCachedData, and we'll still return the cache data. Yeah, I wonder if that makes sense. Because you can't really control that in the watch. So let's say you have something like query page, for example. I think that's one scenario. Like you want to change this, then it makes sense to get some new data. And because the key will stay the same and it won't be changed, there's also an open issue for that. Because the key will not be changed, the data will stay. Yeah, that's not that ideal. Okay, we'll see. Also, okay, they're still testing. What was the comment? The definition of getCachedData should be forcing the forcing function to use the cache. Yeah, that's right. I think still having a bypass way makes sense. Brooks was agreeing here. Dario was saying, who actually implemented getCachedData in the first go. That's really nice. Problem is the key is changed. You can try setting your own key. Hope this helps. Is key changed actually? We'll have a look into this in a bit. I mean, we can just log that here. Let's return this and let's just say we log the key. Because it's true, if it's actually changed by like changing based on the slug or something, but it's here not the case. Okay, let's see. Wait, getCachedData is not triggered here at all, so we don't even get that info. Here the key is the same, which is a hash based on lots of things. Yeah, maybe we'll take this example in the playground and have a look. Yeah, own key. It's not enough if query is reactive. I think so too. Like this example, let's check his example because I think that's a bit different than what I had here. Own key, headers, query page. This looks pretty much similar to mine, but let's check the structure of the files. And an own key, yeah. Oh yeah, switching is fine, but refreshing would be nice. I think that was the main point. It's like, okay, as soon as you use a page parameter, it works, but if you reuse local fetch, it's tricky. Yep. It's already up. Yeah, then we go to initial, what we talked before. Okay, let's have a look. If this already works, which it might, I can close this one, which it might do, but don't do that at home. Yeah, it works. That's good. Of course, this internal, we should use that. Good. Yep. Because I'm not calling refresh manually, because that's the watch part, right? The HTTP request automatically triggered when I change the reactive query parameters of useFetch. In this case, I'd simply like the request to respect the cache data. Reasonable, yeah. Any update? Yes, there is an update. Under CV, the update is coming now. Here we go. Okay, we can implement it. I think. Let's take this over and let's think about it a bit thoroughly. Okay, let's have a look at the playground for this. It's pretty much just that, and let's go and say pnpm playground. What was it? I always forget the commands. Just play. Okay. That's always the easier version. Nice. pnpm play. Oh yeah, some linting stuff, which is totally fine. Okay, seems fine. Okay. Here we go. Let's open the new localhost and close the things that are not related. This is good. Marking this for ready to review. Thanks everybody for watching me fixing that. It works now. Feel free to try that at home, quote unquote. Might land nightly soon. Let's request Daniel's review here. I know I wouldn't have to, but that's finally good. We can close this. We can close this here as well. Eventually resolving this issue. One less. So we're close to 900. I remember it was down to 800 something before, but issues are popping up. Okay, refresh. Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. Refresh here works with that initial as we expected. If we move that refresh here, it doesn't work. Okay. Let's step into it. We need to use asyncData. So the best way we could really do here is say, let's always use cache data. That would be the most simple way of doing that here, I would say. So on refresh, this all works. This doesn't work, and this doesn't work either, right? Now, this is, I think, what Brooks here requested, saying, okay, it would be nice, like a force parameter would be very nice, but in this case, like I think he said, refresh, like he doesn't call refresh. Where did he say that? I think earlier. It doesn't call refresh itself, which makes sense. But we can change that. So let's say we create a force parameter for refresh. We have these options here, right? So the async data execute options. Let's jump here. Initial. This is of course a very internal one. And then we say force. Maybe force cache. It's weird. Let's just do, maybe let's do force for now. It's Boolean, can be optional. That makes sense. And let's document that. Do not use potentially cached data from getCachedData and perform a new request. So we would use that force. Let's see once again where refresh. I think execute is nowhere called. It's the same one, of course. It's named the same because it is the same. It is set to the same thing. This is just semantics. Because you could say, hey, I do nothing immediately and I don't watch anything and I just want to execute that. So it is worth having both around, but they do the same. Important to remember. Okay, we have these options. If we say has, so if not force, let's do if not opt to force, and has getCachedData, we do this. That makes sense. So if there's a force parameter, we can just try it here and say force true. Then now on refresh, on refresh, this does something. This still doesn't do anything. Let's do new joke refresh force, and let's do new joke refresh default maybe. Let's do default here. Right? 5-minute break. We can do 5-minute break in a second, sure. Let's quickly check that this works and this works. Okay. 5-minute break is fine. Let's have a quick one. I want to get some water anyway, so that's a good point. Yeah, we'll be back in 5 minutes. See you soon. Don't run away. We'll continue a bit. All right, and we are back. Nice 5-minute break. Got some water. Thanks a lot, Dale Weaver and Max, for following. Much appreciated. Oh, and hey Esteban, how are you today? I am great. Did a little bit of plant work earlier. And oh, Esteban, thanks a lot for the follow. To you too. Yeah, no, I'm good. Now getting back into some Nuxt related, wait, to go to the browser first, some Nuxt related stuff, triaging some of the issues and actually implementing some of the issues that I wanted to implement. So yeah, I'm going pretty well. And how about you? How are things? Feeling a little bit more relaxed on that Sunday afternoon. Yeah, so we were back at that refresh part. This works by default. Now, the tricky part here would be what would make more sense, let's say, when it comes to the whole part of the refresh and not refreshing when we have reactive things. First, let's check initial. I think there's no need of initial anymore. So we can even remove that. Like technically initial works a bit like force now. Well, we'll see. Because that initial fetch doesn't really matter anymore. So we can even remove that. As it was internal, it's not a break and change. Okay, we have that force, and now we say we call refresh once again. We have refresh here in the initial one. Initial, we don't need to force that because if there is, we should go for it. And here, we watch all the options in watch, and then that's the question. Should we have force in here, yes or no? So if we have force true here, we can just try it out and see it. Well-brained. Hey, welcome to the stream. If we have refresh true, this works like, well, wait, let's do it again. This should work now, right? As is expected. I wonder what aligns more. Like if I update a value that is watched, should I use the cache data? So this is a bit of, I think, based on implementation. Right now, I just say, hey, it's based on the key and things are as they are, right? Maybe I can open the console here and we see also, okay, if the query, like the, let's remove the force. If the query is triggered, here, let's just do force false for now. Like, yeah, the key is locked. And we see no matter what the query value would be for the call, It's always the same key. The key does never update. This is really important. So no matter what I push, the key will be the same. Now one could say, okay, if you really want to change this, you can implement it in your getCachedData, right? You can implement it in the function you write. So you can say here, in that getCachedData, somehow figure out if something, if a query param changed, and then return data as needed or null, so it will refetch. So I get the point of like, it would be nice to figure that out. HCM Lopez writes, I would expect that cache to be updated if I update watch value. I think so too. I think there are good reasons for both actually. Yeah, by default also expect to bypass cache or refresh. I think, yes, I get that. Though, let's take a look at two different scenarios. Refreshing as in calling the function, this is not a problem because you could just say, okay, refresh force true. That's fine. And I think that makes a lot of sense to have that parameter. And by default, if you have that getCachedData function, to make sure, okay, hey, look, you can apply that. We can even say, you know what, by default it's true, and we have to set it to false. That doesn't matter, right? The useful distraction, thanks for follow. But the problem is if we change something that's watched, we can't really set force true or false. So another option would be to say, okay, hey, I don't know, like ignore cache on watch true or something, which is, it's not nice. It's not really, it doesn't really feel good from a DX point of view. Hey, Goozy Dev, how's it going? The question is, do we have any kind of way to either get the information to the person, like in getCachedData? Because is there a way to figure if a query param changed or not? Like, yeah, you could say, hey, I watch, let's say I watched ref, and say, okay, changed. Let's say const previous page is. Yeah, that's also tricky because I would say not really. It's not that easy. We could maybe pass something in like, okay, did some parameters change? I'm not sure about that. So right now I would even say, okay, here we should say we ignore the cache here, but it would be very lovely if we have an option to say we ignore that. Curious what's the use of the useNuxtApp there with the payload. Is it something new? No, this is nothing new. The idea is, so we get the Nuxt application here, and then to access some, let's say, internals, this is necessary for getCachedData here to get the right data returned if it exists. So wait, I will quickly link the video about that just for context. Kuzidev, thanks for the follow. So yeah, there is the explanation why you need that, why it is there. And that's basically, this says if there's data, just reuse that. Like, let's say we get into our example here, we have, like we refresh the page fully and we have this joke. And now, instead of saying I refresh or like I get some data, there's no request happening, we just use what's there. Right? There's no network request happening. That only happened once and then it's gone. If I say, I don't have that getCachedData function, if we remove this real quick. So we say here, line comment, boom. And then we refresh, there will be calls happening. Yep. Perfect. Kuzidev, good. I'd love to go back to Nuxt, but I have PTSD from it. Oh, why PTSD? Let me know everything. What's happening? What happened? Why, what gave you the ick? Bring it on. In the meantime, yeah, I think it would be nice to have a global option then. It doesn't feel very lovely because, yeah, that doesn't really help. There, maybe we'll leave it out as well. I wonder how are the watch option set, because this is of course this multi-watch source. I think when we use useFetch, that should be set automatically for useFetch. Let's have a look here. Because yeah, okay. Yes, all the fetch options request. Okay, I see. Unless watch is false, of course, then it's empty. Yeah. You know what? Let's go with an option. Let's do that. I'm not entirely happy with that, but I think for now it is the easiest way of implementing that. Happy to get some feedback, but let's say another option. Okay, we have dedupe, we have force, and we have another option here. Ignore cache on watch. Yeah. But this is so specific to getCachedData. In the meantime, I worked on a project where I had to use shared array buffers. Oh, and I need specific headers to be set. I tried for a week with a ton of different methods to set the headers, but nothing worked. Had to go back to view and define them in VOD, config, and versal.js. That's really strange because, I mean, setting headers can be done through route rules, like straight away. Let's say your Nuxt config and you say route rules, and let's get index page and just say headers, and I don't know, my header, my value, let's say. That should already work. So that should be fine. But yeah, fair point. What's the issue of trying to solve would be also interesting. But in general, that should be it. Otherwise, you can use a Nitro server, like a Nitro middleware, so like a server middleware, so to say, to set them. That could also work. Say like, okay, if we're in this path, then do that, or with a bit more context things to do. Anyway, let's have a look at that ignore cache and watch. I'm really not that happy about that, but we can't also implement it and getCachedData straight away, I think, because we don't know what's triggering, quote unquote, getCachedData. We only know, well, technically we know if it comes from a watch. Yeah, but they need to be set on asset files. So this try middleware next config, but yeah, it was really weird. But even on asset files, that should be fine, I think. But if not, please, very important, raise an issue. Like just start a very simple new stack. Let's just go to nuxt.new. Here, just go for stackplets. And the most simple example, put it on issues. I'm more than sure some people will help you with that. It's like, hey, headers for assets can't be set. That's the way to go. Like, try it in various options, because then we're happy to help if that's the actual Nuxt bug. Sure. So yeah, maybe what we could do is say here, triggered, or like more or less given info that is triggered by watch. Like that could be interesting. From, or triggered by, maybe something like that. Just as an info to say like, hey, we could set something like initial or refresh or I don't know, or watch. Yeah, naming things, true. Maybe the triggered by could be nice. Let's see if that makes sense. We can remove this ignore. I hope we didn't. We did already, good. So getCachedData, yeah, okay. Here has cachedData would be something to check there as well. So we'd also have to have some info triggered by for that. So that would be, for example, triggered by, and let's say this would be the same technically. So asyncData options triggered by. no, it would be getCachedData. And then that would be the function that the argument. Okay, I will just define a new type. This is a bit too much. So let's say getCachedData triggered by export type getCachedData triggered by fetch with refresh almost initial refresh and watch. Let's use that. Oh, we already have that, right? Yeah, okay. Triggered by. Let's put it in here and pass that along. We also should make that optional for sure, because, well, people might not have that yet, so that makes sense. Come on. That's almost the exact title of an article I wrote a while back. Oh, yeah. I think these are really like cache validation naming things, off by one errors, the classics. Okay, we have getCachedData. We have that triggered by, and now could we provide that? Like here, it would be initial, I think, for has cache data, right? If options force, not option force, and has cache data, that would be by refresh, right? Oh, we don't even have to pass that, but yeah, we have to. Otherwise, that's not the right way. Yep. Okay. Any else here? Fetch on server. That should also be initial. Initial fetch. Okay. Has cache data. Anything without the call? Nope. Once again, getCachedData. Anything without the call? Nope. Because yeah, then we don't really need that. We can just go for, oh, hey, Dr. Joom. Hey, Yuan. Nice to see you around. We could just say, you know what? In getCachedData, we have the info triggered by. Possibly we have that info. So, and then it is definitely available. So we can say if triggered by watch, return null. And it's handled in there. We don't have any complexity for people not using that. We have not any weird info, and that's good. So that's how they can figure it out on their own. We still have the force param, which is nice for the refresh. We also might want to give refetching that force param, so we have a look into that in a bit. HTN Lopez, yeah, thanks a lot for coming around. Have a great week too, and hopefully see you on Friday for the next YouTube video, or for next stream, whatever that will be. Have a great week, and a nice Sunday, of course. Okay, let's have a look at our test bench. So, refresh default. Okay, that's as it should be. It should not trigger any call. Refresh force should trigger a call. Does it? That's fine. And now, if we changed it here, yeah, it will redo it. So now people have the option to say, okay, you know what? If it's triggered by watch, then return nothing or return like null or undefined, and then we're good and that will work fine. And otherwise, if we don't use that, and refresh here, this should, oh yeah, now we do the refresh in watch here. We don't need to set a force true here. A force will always skip, that's great. And otherwise people can define that. So now this works. And both cases are covered. Okay, seems like a valid option. Tests. We need tests for that. And before we do tests, we need this here as well. App data refresh. So this would be really nice to be called with also here force param, which is Boolean, and we pass that along if it exists, right? So we can say, all right, app data refresh, force Boolean, we might want to, we don't have documentation on what exactly these doing. Maybe let's improve that in another PR later on. And in here, we have this refresh keys and force. And we pass in force here. So also that seems like a really good option here, I would say. Refresh NuxtData. Yeah. Okay. Seems pretty much fine for me. What? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can ignore that. That's fine. Now we just want to make sure that things still work as expected, and then we can document the force option. We can document the triggered by, which I think could be really helpful. And then it's like, okay, if it's triggered by a certain watch property, it's a bit trickier. But I don't think we can do much there, right? Like if we have options.watch, just watch here. Yeah, something will be watched. And then of course we could somehow pass that in, but it's a bit tricky. Okay. Let me just double check real quick. Where did we trigger by watch? We have triggered by. That's okay. getCachedData. Yeah. We don't even use watch? Well, if it's not initial or refresh, it is watch. Okay, fair. Okay, getCachedData. Let's have one more look into this. Yeah, it will be set. Has cachedData, we checked it as well. Triggered by will be passed on. Here, getCachedData. Key, that should be initial as well. This is by refresh, makes sense. We don't even use watch right now. But why did this work then? Let's check once again. This is the force. This doesn't do anything. Let's say if it's not initial and triggered by is not refresh, what then? Oh. Okay, let's say if triggered by and triggered by is none of these. What about an advanced alternative for the watch option, like should validate cache when which can get triggered by? Yeah, I was also thinking about another option. Or you mean actually changing the watch option to be like a function or something? So let's say we have watch here, right? These are just sources. So you could set them to false in useFetch actually. What I didn't want to do is like I don't want to do something like ignore or like ignore cache on watch. Something like that is a bit meh DX wise. Yeah, shouldn't validate cache would be a function. The problem is where would you provide that function? Like, or where would you set it? Like, where would the user define that? Because what intentionally the idea was that in getCachedData we have the info about, okay, what exactly causes the, like, in which scenario is asked for cache data, and then saying, okay, fine, in this scenario, how about getting the cache data? But if it's a property that's watched, like some query param, for example, then we don't do that. But the problem is that we don't really have that information. We don't really know why exactly getCachedData was called. It's always on refresh or initial. We don't have that watch option. But instead of watch, oh, you mean here have like a function. Let's say here's some kind of function that gets the watch params, you mean? Something like that? And then like returns a boolean, something like that? Because the problem is we can't get the params in here necessarily. So if we take a look at refresh, refresh will be called when, maybe that's another option. Maybe that's something. Let's close the asyncData options, and we have these execute options, which is also refresh. So we have force here, which already forces us. And maybe we need something like, maybe we need something triggered by down here. Maybe I'll name it later. And now we could say, let's pass that into the refresh. Saying, oh yeah, okay. If refresh is called for options.watch here, we could say technically triggered by watch, which is not available anymore because we removed it. So here we could have an info about why exactly that happens. We still don't have the parameters because, yeah, technically you can say like, okay, now you could pass in the params, but I feel like this might get a little complex as well. On the other hand, it could help saying, oh yeah, there's that param changed. So that could be nice. I see the point there. But please let me know if you have a different idea. I think that that goes in some direction. So let's say we have the refresh function here. And this is, maybe we can just have the triggered by here. A bit like the initial first, what we removed. But could use this. I just want to avoid that this blocks us doing something else. And triggered by, this would be triggered by refresh as well. Also, why did I make the typo? What the hell? Let's trigger it by. And technically, we could even say refresh or like refresh hook or something, but this might be too specific. Let's have it do maybe refresh hook here. Do we have another scenario? Just a general where it's here. And maybe then we can pass in options to triggered by. getCachedData, there. And checking has. Yeah, this is for initial, this is still fine. I mean, the triggered by it would be like, it could be a manual refresh, or it should be refresh hook. Or refresh manual and refresh hook, maybe that could be a nice distinction. Because there would be refresh hook here and here. Have that watch that will be triggered. And otherwise, it should be if fetch on server and hydrating. And I'm not sure if this is initial here, but we'll see that in a sec. I'm not sure, it's tricky to think completely through, but I was think about an alternative to watch option using the watch option itself, which would be computed, which triggers on dev updates and return when to refresh or skip the cache or not. The problem with this is, I think that I wonder how we could feed that into getCachedData. So I see the point of saying like, okay, it should invalidate cache. It's a computed based on, oh yeah, if this changes or that changes. But then also you would have to track all these things on your own, right? Like you would have to track if, on this example, let's go here. We have the page, right? And if we would have some kind of watch option, we like for useFetch, we have, for example, a query that will be fed into the watch already, right? So I'm not entirely sure how we could do that in the nicest way, but I see what you mean. Because this will be like fed into watch array for asyncData under the hood. So that's the tricky part. Now, if you would have something like should invalidate cache right here, then we could say we pass in all the watch options here somehow. So let's say watch options are an array of things, and we say if, or we return an array of things that should change or something like that. It could be a function variant of watch instead of an array. Yeah, I see the point, but how do we deal with useFetch then? Like, you mean we have the multi-watch sources here, right? Like this. So we'd say like watch function instead, and that could be a function that takes these multi-watch sources and say, let's say sources or whatever. And it returns a Boolean and basically says when it cached or not. Maybe I understand it correctly, more or less, right? That would be the idea. Or like gives a promise Boolean, whatever. I think the biggest issue with this is that the user would still need to define the getCachedData function, right? These should only be relevant if the user defines that getCachedData. So ideally, the overhead, like it should probably be closely related to this one. But please, if you have, like if I get that wrong, you have an idea how to make that smooth, send me a gist of code or send me like an example, or tell me if I'm thinking through it wrong. What do you suggest? But in general, this is also important, and I will come to Esteban's question in a second. We have this composable cache. I hope I'll find it straight away in Nuxt here. This TTL property. This is also something based on the video, and the idea was to like, okay, nice video. We don't really want a TTL always, so maybe we can make it simpler, saying, okay, you just set a TTL here. I think it goes in the same direction that you just suggested. God damn it! The problem is, like TTL is also not a good way, because ideally, we discussed it in the team to have some kind of like function that can be used for getCachedData. So you have like a TTL cache, you have various kinds of cache that you could define that we could provide, like cache always, because right now we really show all these internals, and that's not that nice. Yeah, please send a snippet, send a PR, create an issue. I would love that. That would be great. But the future would be like right now we have these not so nice. Oh yeah, this is all like very lower level internal code. This is not that ideal. What would be way nicer would be if we eventually like could build some composable caching and eventually say like, hey, getCachedData and write this cache forever, let's say, or TTL cache -1. Oops, TTL cache -1 or something, or TTL cache 10,000, or you can even combine them, right? To say like, okay, it's a cache function you call various info. So I think that getCachedData function might need a bit more power here, and I agree. Like maybe we could provide a bit more here. But as this is all rather low level, yeah, that might work. Okay. Do we ever have we said watch. This should be in here. Yeah, that's fine. We have this. We have refresh hook in here. Have we refresh manual somewhere? No, we don't use refresh manual, but we use initial a few times. We use initial here and here, which is correct because this is where we set it up, right? Create or use a shared asyncData entry or entity. Okay. This is the initial fetch. It's also fine, but I think further down on the road, refresh, where it's also initial, it shouldn't be initial here, or has cache data and then it's triggered by initial. And that's not exactly correct because this is already in refresh, right? Like this is in here, in that big refresh function call. So technically, the initial here is not correct. This would be refresh, but it must be manual. It must be manual refresh. It could be also an execute. That's the thing, because the naming is right. But in this case, that would be that. Okay. If triggered by is watch return null. We try this again. And after that, as promised, I will answer Esteban's question. Let's see. Okay, that looks good. That looks fine. Because we say if triggered by watch, return null, otherwise return nothing. And maybe we turn the other way around. So let's say if it's not triggered by watch. So, okay, that's perfect. This is not doing anything as well. This should do something. Let's have a look. Triggered by. And the question from Baba Papazes. Yeah, I love tongue breakers. Are you working for Nuxt or is it something you do in free time? The point is, no, I'm not employed by Nuxt Labs or similar. I'm part of the core team, which means that I contribute. That doesn't mean that I get paid for contributions. I'm sponsored by a couple of people, as you can see on my GitHub profile. So I'm also sponsored, like everything's shown also down here. I'm also sponsored by Nuxt Labs. So that's, I think, the Nuxt UI Pro orgs this time. And also Daniel, and also lots of other people. So thanks a lot for every sponsor at that moment. And for example, Nuxt Labs is sponsoring all of the core team, various different levels, right? For example, Daniel is working full-time for Nuxt and is also sponsored for a share amount, as he also wrote in his blog about how he's funded. And I really like this one. So also saying that the majority of his funding comes from a retainer with Nuxt Labs, which totally makes sense. And yeah, for me, it's a couple hundred euros. So like it's below 500 euros a month, which doesn't really pay the bill, of course. It's still amazing because that allows me to shift my time to open source. And okay, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, for me, I like Nuxt. Let's say the Nuxt Lab sponsor loan doesn't cover the bill. The sponsors altogether also wouldn't cover the bill. So I do that in a way in my free time, but because I am mainly doing consultancy, which that website hopefully clearly says. So being a web engineering consultant, it in a way is a good symbiosis. Like I work with people, also some people in the chat right now, on a daily basis, and some on a weekly and so on and so on. So the idea is that people pay me for my expertise with Nuxt. I help them with their projects. So usually when, I don't know, someone reports an issue and I say like, oh, hey, can you give me a reproduction? I don't want your full project. And that's the exception. Like, oh, hey, there's an issue in our project, please figure it out, right? And that's a big difference. Because of course, if you get paid for digging into projects, you can spend the time if it's on a budget. Oh, glad that you love the site. I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah, it took quite a bit to get at that point. But yeah, that is what pays the bill. And what I'm doing right now is basically free time. But of course, it feeds into each other in a way, right? I'm not getting paid for that. I'm doing that for fun. Same with YouTube, right? With my YouTube channel. It's the same idea. Like I don't get paid for that. I mean, now that I eventually became a YouTube, I know it's called partner, I think. Yeah, like join the YouTube affiliate program, so on. Like people can become a member. I also know why this is in German by default. About preferences, let's fix this real quick. Language, I think it's just the default. Yeah. Let's move this up. That looks better. Yeah, people can become members and whatnot. And I get a bit of ad revenue, which is pretty nice. But other than that, yeah, it's mainly this what runs, what pays the bills and runs the business. But on the other hand, it's really nice that, okay, because I do open source, people are aware, people book help. And on the other hand, if I see issues with my clients, for example, then I can also like fix them. If like 2-3 people have a similar problem, then it might not be fully on them, but also like, how do we document stuff? What can we improve? Can we maybe add a warning in dev mode and so on and so on? Creating a YouTube channel to explain Nuxt was a beautiful idea. So many things to into your deep dive. Yeah, thank you. I really felt the need for a while. Like I felt it early last year already, but because I moved to Amsterdam in April and then like, you know, setting up everything, it took a while. Even before I thought, okay, I really want to start doing that. But the problem is that it's of course lots of time and I want to do it consistently. I want to put out one thing every week. So in addition to these streams, of course. And it means lots of production effort. And I'm very happy about Nikki, for example. My girlfriend is helping with cutting and post-production. That really helps with time as well. And it looks very professional that I would do it myself. So also big shout out. And yeah, other than that, it's really like I have a big list of topics and I get more suggestions. And please, if you have any, as usual, bring them on because it's really useful. Okay. This is triggered by watch. This is not triggered, that's correct. And this is triggered by undefined. This shouldn't be undefined. Come on. This is not correct. I have a refresh that does not have a triggered by right now. I think. Do we have an execute somewhere? No. Oh, wait. We call refresh manually. We call, wait, we can check the code. That's easier. We call refresh here manually, doing nothing. So triggered by default should be refresh manual. Haha. How about that? Here, not here. Execute options. Triggered by is, oh no. Yeah, let's say where refresh is defined. Refresh manual by default. Yeah, do you have still time to live? Because having a job, doing open source and creating content is huge. Yes, I still have time to live very, very happily. I mean, don't stream always on the weekend. This is more or less an exception, or rather I want to do it throughout the week. But of course, especially after finishing my thesis, what I did a little bit in yesterday's stream, which will be up on YouTube this evening, I hope. Yeah, time to live actually is quite important. And I don't do 40 hours of like paid consultancy and then open source. So a big part, like of course, a big part of my time is consultancy. And then I do open source in like the leftover times. For example, I still plan in hours for triaging. I just plan in hours for well, the community meetings, office hours, for example, I plan in time for the team meeting, insiders meeting, and so on. So it's a considerable amount of time, but yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. Okay, this is triggered by manual. This is triggered by watch, and this is by refresh. Okay. If it's watch is null, otherwise, okay, I think that's good. And the default behavior will not change. That's the best part. Like if we don't need anything, nobody will care. This will be This will be something. Maybe getCachedData. Yeah, getCachedData will not work here then. Oh, what's your subject? My subject is very, very basically saying we compare server-side rendering capabilities of frameworks. It's called a comparative analysis of SSR capabilities of JavaScript frameworks, something like that. So also that. Frozen Spirit, I'm also just finishing my thesis and in process of submitting it. That's amazing. Yeah, I have to do it a month, and I hope I will get everything ready until then, but I'm quite convinced it will happen. All right. That's the only thing that's a bit annoying. This standard behavior is a bit strange right now, as we had said before with the cache. So let's say get cache data. Well, I think it could be adapted. It could be changed already nowadays in the code. I don't think we can really fix that. Let's add a triggered by. The string indicates in which case the cache should be used, or cache data was requested. Something like that. Something like that's good. Watch function, ignore cache and watch goes down. It's a bit different. UX oriented. I research and design UX for Portal that includes Slovenian charity projects. Oh, that's cool. I wonder what the results were. Interviewed of donators and charity organizations, and basically and based on retrieved data, I designed UX. Okay. So basically made the best user experience for these portals, or like suggestions, for example. And this is internal. Okay. On that side, I really wonder how many people actually use getCachedData. I don't think that many right now. Maybe it would be good to have some kind of RFC or something like that for these composable caches, because that could be way into that. Let's see. Maybe we even went a little bit too far and just said like, hey, let's keep it force or not force. But we'll have a look. Yeah, because now charities are very decentralized. Makes sense. That way users could find all projects in one portal. Yeah, that sounds definitely like it would help. Then also people are even aware what they are not aware of. The classic thing of like, oh, this is also a thing I didn't know. Okay. Maybe the default here should be false. Well, is that the case though? We don't set force, we passed it on. And we don't call force anymore. So people could now force their way into that when refreshing. Okay. Nitro now wants me to develop the portal itself and also charity organizers interested. We'll see. Maybe it could be a fun project. I mean, not only fun, could be also a business in a way. Not that charities have lots of business, but they like lots of money in that way. But it would help them. And if lots of people are interested in that, lots of charities, why not? And I know exactly what kind of software we'd use for that? What kind of libraries and frameworks? Okay. Tests. The test part will be the funniest part, I guess. How do we test it the best way? It's really much, probably similar to what we did here. Okay. It will become a 30 out of 7 in that case. Shit. Yeah, I never nice one was 24/7 now. Come on. Fair point. Fair point. All right, let's get into the test part. I'm really curious what the feedback for this will be. As I said, I'm not entirely sure if this is the best way of architecting this, but I think it's a first stab on that at least. Let's get into basic picture. Do we have somewhere getCachedData tested? Probably. Yeah, we have it here. Allows custom access to cache. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. It yeah. Okay, it's what else do we have? We need to say it allows to customize cache based on triggered by. This is not ideal. Well, let's do it different. Let's do it. We'll do force first. We'll use cache on refetch. And refresh by default. So let's say we have a value. Let's say we have a function that just generates okay, let's say this will be fun. Let called is 0. Let's say called is 1. Do call plus plus in the end. Let's say if called is 0, not setting it. Oh god. If called is 0, return. Oh, we just return called. Come on. This is way easier. You can just say return called plus plus. Put this on 0. And there we go. We just built SaaS with Nuxt a few months ago, and Blast work with amazing. First SaaS and just got first customer. Oh yeah, that's great. That also sounds like your product fits the people well, which is very important. Building is one thing. So amazing to hear that. Okay, let's do fn. We have the getCachedData and that. Yeah. We don't have Nuxt around here. That's the biggest issue. We can't really, because it's fully detached from that. How do we test it a nice way? Like, we call the function, and on refresh, it should be the same value. You know what? It's better. We just call the function here, and here we say other value. Okay. So now we expect, of course, data to be 0, right? Just to be data value to be 0. That would be the easiest. And now we want to say we export refresh as well. Now we do await refresh. I think here, okay, yep. We still expect data.value to be 0. This would be the correct test case, I think. Oh yeah, I don't have VDOS command line thing on. Then pnpm, what is it? Composables. Okay. npm VDOS run test composables. I hope this will be fine. Test Nuxt composables. It failed. I think it still needs the preparation stuff. Let's prepare, and then I think yep. Types, okay. Units. Where's composables in? Just -d, I guess, and then tests. Yeah. VDOS run your tests. We can do that. It's fine. But it should also work with here. Let's say we'll use cache. npm vtests. Let's see. 5 skipped. Okay. Because it's not in there. It isn't test Nuxt composables. Maybe just do composables. It's probably just useAsyncData. Huh? A question regarding useFetch or useAsyncData. If there's any specific difference between handling the error after the call and script setup or handling it with on-response error, because if you do refresh or something, only on-response error can handle it, then no. It should still update. Like the error value should still update. You can watch the error, for example. On-response error is, I think, more to, let's say, manipulate or change values before it. Like it's more of an interceptor way. It's a bit too low level for like business logic, I would say. I rarely use these. It's nice. It's like, okay, hey, on response error, check if it's a 401 or 403, and then refresh the auth token, for example. That's I think a good case. Yeah, of course I can watch it, but if I just do if error, yeah, that won't work. That's correct. But that's why I think watching would be a good scenario. I don't think it ran. This is still a bit strange, but we'll have a look. I need to. Oh, okay. Might need to fixtures. No problem. Test fixtures. Yeah. All right. Anyway, we'll roll with that. It's okay. We'll see if it breaks or not. In the meantime, we can write the other tests. We had should use no here. We'll use cache and refresh by default, and it will not use cache when with force option. So let's do refresh force true, and this should be other value. That's okay. So this is the force part covered, and let's say it we just return here. We return the key doesn't matter, so what triggered by is important. What we return here should not matter, and you return just triggered by. So red wrap on again if you want to. So the idea would be like, okay, we want to get the info on why the data was fetched. Data value to be initial. That should be just fine. getCachedData should do what? specify on initial fetch, maybe something like that. getCachedData should received on watch. This will be the interesting, and on manual refresh. So this should be refresh manual. If we do a refresh. All right, we could probably also cover that both, but that's fine. Why is it triggered by any? Okay. That also, oh, it's still testing. Okay. And on watch is a bit more complicated. So we have data. We say const value is ref0. Yeah, it's a problem. We can't really await the new call. That may be the trigger. We'll see how we can test that. So because we set it up, we do value plus plus or something, or like value dot value. Wow, is one. And then we want to see data value to be refresh. No, watch. But this is the tricky part. How do we make sure that actually changes? I mean, it's not. Maybe you need to do like an maybe next tick, not next tick, set timeout or similar. We'll see if that will work. So we have refresh manual. We could also do refresh hook, but then we have to test refresh NuxtData. And this is tested here anyway. Okay, good. That's fine. Yeah. We can set up the same thing. Let's do it. Should be refreshable with force and cache. So similar idea. We just say we set it up. getCachedData is cached. We say await let's refresh data, and here we do force true. We expect data to be tested, not cached, after forcing the refetch. Oh yeah, bundle size. Okay. Error override should execute. Okay. Because can be cancelled overridden. We'll have a look into that. But aren't that if these things look okay? Yeah, we have to update the size test. That's fine. So we test also refresh the NuxtData with force. That's very important. We need to test. Well, the rest we'll see. Let's run the whole thing again. We can adapt the 1333K. That's just a snapshot, right? So that's 13334 right now. Okay. But it doesn't match. Okay, it's smaller. No, it's not smaller. It just grew bigger. Yeah. No, interesting. Okay, we'll see. If it got smaller, it would be really fun, but I don't think so. All right. In the meantime, while this is running, let's push it up and say feed implement force plus triggered by. It could be also two separate PRs. But as they are kind of belong together. I will do that in GitHub. I like the VS Code option for that, but with the zoom, it's not that ideal. So let's switch over to GitHub. And we'll do this here. GetCachedData. Yeah. Linked issue should be this one. And also, let's say resolves this one. And linking for prep work. It is related. Let's see how much. We'll do some enhancements, or well, enhancement slash new feature. It's let's say it's new feature. What is the PR doing? In VS Code, you can only zoom this data font so that you have a working panel. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I will try that. I'll try next time. This PR adds a force option to refresh. Refresh function from useAsyncData and a force option to refresh NuxtData. It allows to bypass the results, or bypass a possibly existing getCachedData function and forces to refetch. As force cannot be set when watching params, e.g. for useFetch, or manually in useAsyncData. getCachedData receives the context that triggered the function and requests cache data, allowing more granular results, something like that. Happy for feedback on the implementation. Because yeah, it is, we have tests, we don't have the docs yet. It's draft, because I'm not entirely sure if that's the best way. I just saw feedback on Discord from someone also watching my account right now, saying I suggest modify the cache key based on your query params. So the problem is I cannot change the cache key, so there is an issue about that. Reactive cache or reactive key, not key, because the issue is probably also linked here somewhere. useFetch and useAsyncData reactive key. So you cannot really pass a reactive key to, let's say, useAsyncData or useFetch. As soon as the key is available once, that's it. That's very important to mention. That's why I tested it here locally. Like, even if you change, even if you update a query parameter or something, then that won't change much. The only thing, of course, what you can do is, like, if you have a setup, let's say, we'll have a look into that in a sec. And Sean Bright 22, thanks a lot for a follow. if you have a setup like not only app.view, but I should remove the playground changes anyway. But like you have pages, so you say I have pages and have a slug here, the view. Machi J, thanks a lot for the follow. If you have something like this and you do that, then you say like, okay, const slug is use route dot params dot slug. Then you can use that and add it to the key, which is even automatically if you add it to the URL. And then when you change pages, that will work because there will be a new component rendered for that page. It will not be reused. So that works. The core problem is, hey, Sean Bry, hey. The core problem is that if you don't want to do that, like if you just say, okay, like in our scenario, I just have a query here. This is added to the to the cache, as in like, okay, this will be added to the key in a way, but only initially. If you change it, the key won't change. The key is static then. And that means that you can't really do it unless you open like a new page or something, or create a new request. That's also fine. But other than that, it won't work. Work on Nuxt issues? Yes, I do. Sounds fun. Are you in a core team or just community? So I wouldn't say just community, because community is amazing and important, but actually I am on the core team /T. Yeah, drinking some. There. That's me, kind of. Looks like. Yeah. Imagine me with. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Okay. But yeah, that's back to the scenario. This is why we can't add it simply to the key. Otherwise, if the key could be reactive, that would all be needed that much, but it won't work. Okay, and there's still two things just breaking, which is this one. We have a look into that. Override should execute, and minimal Nuxt application, which got smaller, which is a bit weird. But let's see. Also, we should definitely remove this and reset everything we did here. You know what? Probably just check what we changed on GitHub. Yeah, we talked about that issue. We created a pull request. It is on draft. It fails, as we know. I'll autofix CI will also. That's okay. Let's get the old app here. Oh yeah, even that I changed for some example. It's true. Let's do discard changes here. Personal token required. Yeah, true. Okay, let me quickly discard the changes in my other profile. Sorry for that. Automatic watch by passing ref to query doesn't work in useAsyncData. Same as useFetch, right? It does work. It does. Oh, sorry. On asyncData, it doesn't work. No, it only works in useFetch, but you can pass it as watch. So let's do the starter app here. We say data, and let's have a script setup here, right? Let's use a JSON placeholder or something like that. Const URL is this, and const ID is ref0, or let's do ref1, and const data is useAsyncData. Come on. And as URL, you do something like URL plus ID. If you want to. Oh yeah. Okay. Close the script tag here. And dot value. And a slash maybe. And then combine it to template string, but not now, and not now one password. So we have this. We do $fetch in here as well. Oh, you don't even need $fetch to show that. So now when I say, let's have a button saying add click, and I say ID++, click me. And we also render the ID down there, because why not? So here, this doesn't do anything, right? Nothing happens. I'm doing it, yeah, I just wanted to check. Would be cool if also watched here, but well, yeah, that's why useFetch has a bit more things. So in here, if we do watch and do watch ID, this works perfectly. Yep. No, I get that. But that's why like useAsyncData is a bit more low level than useFetches. All right. Okay. I wanted to quickly do this in my other profile. So quickly getting rid of the changes for the playground, because discard changes for this. The composable test should be there. And oh, there are some mistakes. We have a look in a bit. And the next config should also be discarded. Okay. This will run again. If we check the files changed, they reported that some things didn't work. Okay, now the tests of course run again. We have a look at the result. We check. Can we check just commits before? Yeah, that's failing. Let's go here. Oh, I think that's autofix CI. No. Okay, fixtures. Okay, we will check this. Because can we cancel overridden? They should be still, but it doesn't work. That's that. Nothing else. That's technically cool. But here are the others. Yeah. No, that also looks fine. Well, my other window just showed me different stuff. Anyway, that's good. That's nice. I will still have a look. Yeah, it's still messed it up. Here. So in here it said expect initial to be watch, and it's not. Same with expect initial to be refresh manual, and it's not. And so yeah, these two don't work yet. We have to check why. The rest is fine. For the watch, we kind of expected that it wouldn't work. The nice part is with this, and that's actually, okay, yeah, that's pretty lovely actually. The other tests worked. Like the tests worked fine for the refresh NuxtData. Tests worked fine for lots of things. So that's cool. That's cool. And let's do this, and we don't need a coverage. We just run this. Yep, perfect. Expect initial to be watch, and initial to be refresh manual. This is not how we want it to be. In the meantime, let's pull in the latest changes, which fixed some things here. Still, same issues. The watch, yeah, we need some. And here, okay, we have triggered by. Triggered by is returned. We call refresh. And I would expect, because it's a manual refresh, right? Not be that. Because if we just like call refresh here, what we did is we said by default it should be, let's get rid of this, it should be manual, right? Like refresh is called, we don't have anything, that's the initial one. Here, triggered by refresh manual. So that should be set technically. If it's cancelled, do a few things. Okay, finally. Then it's the initial fetch, the server side. And on the client side, we get the whole thing back. Oh, sorry, I missed Sean's comment. I had lunch with Dan like 6 months ago. That's cool. That's nice. Looking forward to see Daniel in a couple months. Not a couple months, a couple of weeks. Region Amsterdam is not far away. 1 week and a bit. Also, in like just community. I know. We all love our community. So yeah, that was just a bit joking. Oh yeah, and as well, because of the profiles, I tried profiles. The problem is I somehow can't get my extensions to properly sync. Then they just say like, hey, please reinstall, and I reinstall them. They still ask for it. So yeah, doesn't work as expected, sadly. Oh yeah, use lazy. I think that it should just be the handler with lazy, but it don't even use lazy here. So this is a bit strange to me why that doesn't work. Because the triggered by should definitely be refresh manual here. I think we did we try that? I mean, we can quickly spin it up and try exactly this in our application, in our playground, because that would be good to see. Let's do just data here, and let's open a terminal. Npm play, and let's have a look. That should be okay. Let's see. Oh, it is not. It's interesting. What if I do refresh force true? It shouldn't give anything probably, because it should just give the empty. Yeah, the empty text. That's correct. But if I have a button, maybe it's just also a next tick thing. Calling refresh here. What will happen now? No. Oh, it doesn't work at all. Okay. Good that we have tests that caught that. So why not? Because we always override it, I think. And it says initial, so Yellow VD00, thanks a lot for the follow. I think I have an idea where that issue comes from. We initialized it here. This is okay. I think this one shouldn't be initial. This one should be options.triggered by. Because this is no, we're in execute, right? Here still. Yeah, okay. So we don't take this, but we take opt dot. No, even here not. Yeah. And triggered by doesn't exist on asyncData. On asyncData options doesn't exist. That's true. We are not anymore in there. We should be, right? This is the whole refresh function, and we're not. Okay, that's unfortunate. Then it might be correct that this is the initial. Let's just do for the sake of doing. Let's just do tests and check out. No. Wizardlovsky, thanks a lot. Hello, shouldn't the first arc of useAsyncData be a key? Oh, yeah, it can be. It can be. It should be. Let's try a key here. It's a good idea. And then do promise something. Dot resolve something. I think it doesn't have to because it can also set it manually, but it's still good to test that. Yoi, good comment. Thanks a lot. I think it still should be initial and break, but this is the better way to write it for sure. There are two ones for that. So if we go up to the types and do, I don't know, asyncData, execute options here. That's just the interface. Yeah. Now let's take a look at key. Maybe that would be the best way. getCachedData, we get the key. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So we have key handler options, which is how it should be. But there's also a way of not providing that key, I think, somewhere, because it can be automatically calculated, but it shouldn't. No, it was a good remark. Like here, there we have it. So we just have the handler and the options. It's not ideal. I wouldn't do it like that. Once again, because if as soon as you have something that needs to be part of a key, like the page slug, and you don't use it, nah. Anyway, we still have to fix that. And we have to check where are other initial options here. We have it here. Let's just go with a very simple one. Test 1, test 2. I know these are not as the types say, but that's fine. And that's okay. Do we have any other initial fetch? Maybe like add this here. That's it. So in here somewhere it has to be test 1. And if we hit that, let's log that. Test 1, that's good. Let's say we return triggered by and do console.log key. We don't have key, we just have underscore. We use underscore here. Triggered by. Interesting, yeah. Key triggered by test 1, test 2, and test. So there are 3 times the charm why that's the case. And I think this aligned also with the comment I saw on the video saying, why is it called 3 times? And it is called in all these cases, but what is if we hit here? That says refresh manual, but it doesn't update here. Strange. Like, it makes sense to say that this is initial because it's the initial call. And if one would argue, okay, if you first time execute or refresh it, it should be initial. I get that. And then it should be, as we have here with triggered by, but it doesn't update. That's not good. Let's do this. Have a look. Because the other test is like fine. It's test 1, 2, 3. Oops, sorry. Let's get all the test cases here and do initial, because this is more or less correct. In a way, it's also really fun. We have that has cache data, which also calls that. We called it a few times, which is not really necessary. And we called it here. And we call that, yeah, that's okay. We call it here, which is, at least here we could avoid that. But we'll come to that. We'll come back to that. Okay, trigger by initial. Still on button click, it doesn't update, though the cache result updates. We don't see that right now, but we saw it before. I think that's a problem. Yeah, you see that here, refresh manual a few times. Let's say if triggered by is refresh manual, return 1 and return 0. It shouldn't matter. I'm just wondering why it doesn't do that at all. No, it doesn't update it. Is it possible data ref isn't triggering the view? That would be strange. Like, yeah, it is in here, right? Like, let's watch effect data. Let's do this and see. Nope. Doesn't update at all. So if getCachedData returns different data, now it doesn't update. We broke something apparently. Because here, okay, changed it to value 0, that's fine, right? And even in here, if we like log, this is hit. Read log triggered by as well. Nope. The watch effect doesn't give us anything as well. Maybe that's let's say we have refresh manual here. So we passed it to triggered by, right? And then we say we resolve with options getCachedData and the key and the options triggered by, which is correct, I would say. You need data value in the watch effect, so it reads the value. No, it shouldn't. Oh, we could check. Might be a good point. Nope, still no. Good idea, but it still doesn't trigger it. Like, I'll refresh just in case. Nope, still not, sadly. Only down here. Super weird. Yeah, because in here, promise resolve, we resolve that. And we can even log that here. We can say, okay, if not options force, it's not given. And has cache data, it has cache data. We know that already. And that also just checks for that. Let's say we log the result here, right? Whatever. This is a bit weird. Yeah, it is also logged there. It is resolved. The whole thing resolves properly and it doesn't update. So that will return here and should, well, it finishes what the refresh does, right? It just resolves the refresh. But do we actually never set the value somewhere? No. Because, yeah, okay, pending and so on. We return that, transform, pick. How about we set the data value? Why did we never do that before? Wait, what happened before? Now I'm a bit skeptical. What even happened before here? And so we said if not, yeah, it was if not initial and hydrating and options initials not false, then we just return that. And later on we need that initial fetch. Okay, maybe we still need that initial, but we'll see. Because I think if we set it here, you know what? think that is a different case. Here, it was here the values were set eventually. As CacheData was called before. A fetch on server and hydrating and values, then they will be set. So maybe that case before was valid because it was about the hydration, or if it's the initial request. Because if we can just just for fun say, you know what, okay, we want to avoid fetching the same case already fetched. Makes sense, but it might change the value. It might still change the value. We can stop that. Yeah, but now we have hydration mismatch. Exactly. I thought so. Huh. Because on the client, it's different. Yeah. Okay. So we should check this anyway. So we say if ops.triggered by is initial and Nuxt useNuxtApp dot is hydrating, then we just resolve the result, which is, what was it before? Hydrating, promise resolve. Oh, and has cache data. Yeah. Then we just resolve with this. That makes sense. So if it's initial or hydrating, yeah, okay, got it. If object is triggered by its initial and hydrating, then we just say, you know what, let's go. These were the conditions, right? Oh no, only if hydrating and initial is not false, so still. So to avoid hydration issues, we go with that. You still get it. Yeah. Let's check if nuxtApp.hydrating. If we check this and we say console.log hydrating, we want to check options triggered by. And do we want to check anything else? Yeah, maybe the getCachedData. We want to check. Let's see where this is going. Yep, still hydration errors, okay. But we should maybe remove the log here. And somewhere we should get some info. Nope. Okay, let's step one step back and just log hydrating. See where this is going. Nothing here, nothing on the server. That's a bit strange. Because this will not be the case, I guess. I don't think that will be it. Let's just restart just in case. And test prepare, but let's just stop one more time. Maybe just even trigger debugger down here. Nope. Okay. Really weird. Because we say, okay, if it has cache data, which it has, then in this case, we can just do this. Then this must exist, and then we can go for it. But that shouldn't always happen. That should only happen if initial. So like technically, if say triggered by is initial, and the other cases. This is more or less what we had with the initial one too, because now we have initial fetch. Oh no, initial fetch sets it to refresh manual. Oh. That should be initial then. Initial fetch, we do on the server side. Yeah, okay. Okay, that looks better. Yay. Things work if you name them correctly. Lovely. So on initial fetch, we check. Yeah, that's the only thing. Initial fetch and being initial, now we have to check if that's still Have options triggered by is initial and hydrating and is cache. Plug to dev. Hey, thanks a lot. Much appreciated for follow. Then we return that. This is more or less what we had before. But then we say, hey, okay, if that's done, then we say if it's not hydrating technically and not forcing and has that result, then we go with that. So now, if we now test our cases, I hope not more fail than failed before. One failed only. Yeah, that's only the watch case, right? And this will not use cache with force option. Oh, we broke the caching, I see. Yeah, I had a feeling. But I think then how we do this. We can technically just do this, right? We can move it up here. Let's say like, okay, if it's initial, if force is disabled, that's also important. And it has cache data and it's hydrating. I'm not sure. Expect nothing to be watched. Okay, this will be interesting. Okay, no, then things just fully break. Okay, let's get a step back. Lovely. Okay, this passes everything that we want to, except that the cache is now used when pushing in force. Even though we say we're not option force, do that. So it does not use the cache on refresh by default anymore. And let's check the test case. We say it's a function, getCachedData for the function. Okay, data value 0. No, actually, data value should still. No, let's go with the other one first. We have this. It doesn't really matter what we do here. It should never use that. It should always be other value down here. This one we don't really care about. Expected initial to be watched. That's fine. Expected here. This is the other one. And I think the problem here is not that it doesn't use it correctly. It is correct. The problem is it is called 3 times, and this is correct. Because it is checked multiple times throughout the timeline. Oh, hey, welcome to the stream. Welcome here. We're debugging some funny new useAsyncData, getCachedData feature that we're just building. So let's see where this is going. So I think called 0, refresh. This is good. This might be 3, and this might be still 3, and then it's passing, or is it? Oh, this is 5 then, because it's still checked. It says we'll use the cache by default on refresh. Yeah, but why do we need to make it that complicated? Can't we just say this returns 1 and this returns like cached, and we say, you know what? Okay, data.value by default is cached. We await a refresh and the data value should still be cached. Isn't that what the test should say? It's not about how often that function will be executed. Frozen Spirit writes, hey, interesting. Interesting. If I set up useRoute query for pagination page and call API with useFetch, using that page ref inside query, it is called twice if I change page. But if I use useAsyncData with watch area, it's only called the page API once per page change. Use route query from view use, I guess. Yeah, that could be. Maybe they're like changing each other. So like the one value is changed, then it propagates the other one does the request, and also, you know, that might be a thing there. Okay, the last one would be really this. No, not this one. This one. Where's watch? Watch here. Let's try, because we maybe have to await new promise. Yeah, just resolves that timeout. That's okay. Will this work? Does this bring us anything? No. Expected initial to be watched. This is better than before? Not sure. Before it was also initial. Okay. Let's just do for fun 100 milliseconds. This shouldn't bring us anything because it's not, yeah, okay. Let's see how we can do that. Because number value is changed, reactivity should be there. No, it shouldn't. No, this would never work. This would never work. It still doesn't work, but before it wouldn't have worked either. Okay, here we go. Adding the watch to the number would be helpful. Yeah, but it's different between useFetch and useAsyncData. Anyway, whatever, we'll try to figure it out. I see. Interesting. Yeah, definitely. Spin up a rip road. I would be interested in seeing that and taking a look at that. Good part is test passing. Let's do feed or fix pass tests. Is this the nicest implementation right now? I am not entirely sure. But let's say if cache changed based on triggered by set new data result. But here initially can't really change. So that's why we can't use the same thing over here. Otherwise things would break in the application. Like we can have a look into that. If not, we can even remove this, but this should give a hydration error, I think. No? It doesn't? Yeah, this fails now. Correct. Okay, I thought so. Because then we can keep it like this. And we're good. Okay. Sanity check. All right, we synced that, and second Nuxt feature, it's there. It is working. it is ready to review. And after these things passed, there are only a few things that I have to check. I'll still mark it as ready to review because I think it's nice for people to have some eyes on that, give some feedback. As I said, I'm not entirely sure if it's the best way ever, but it works. So happy for some architectural thoughts. Also from you in the chat, if you have some feedback on this, please just comment here. Thank you, Arise12 for the follow. Also bringing in here the link as usual, so you can follow along that pull request. And I'm actually quite happy with the progress we made so far. And it's almost 6. I think it's a really good time here to almost stop. So time is almost over. Now the big question would be, do you have any questions? Is there anything on your mind with regards to Nuxt View? Anything, it doesn't even have to relate to that you want to know? Do you think it could be nice to ask? Then that's the way. If not, you don't have to. So that would be the chance. In the meantime, I will have a look at who are we raiding. So let's see where we go with that. Right, no questions so far. As I said, it's not a big problem, not a big deal. How do they know if you're a senior developer or not? Oh, interesting. Yeah, the problem is with seniority in a way, there are lots of things to consider. So it's not like, oh, I can, I don't know, do this code challenge super fast, or I know that answer to this and this things. It's tricky in a way. So I would say a senior dev is a lot about, I've worked for 5 years and I don't feel I'm close to being it. Well, I think it's a lot about like how to tackle problems, right? Like, as in, how good are you in like planning, foreseeing issues, understanding complexity? Coding is one thing, right? And I mean, I don't know. I'm coding for more than half of my life by now. It's really fun to say that. So I started when I was 13, but I was not working like a professional environment, of course. Nevertheless, it helped a bit. But considering senior is, yeah, it's a bit tricky. Frozen, was a pleasure. See you around next time, and yeah, thanks for being around. Yeah, so I think it's more a problem solution and seeing the big picture, understanding that it's like, of course, with things like imposter syndrome, you don't have to know everything as a senior, right? Like, Googling is part of all our workflows. That's pretty normal. It's more important how to handle the problems, but I can't give you like a hard, oh, that's how you know. And it also depends from team to team, right? Like, if you're a team of 5 people and you have a good project overview, you understand complexity and issues that arise, people give you tasks, you think like a little bit ahead, you work well with, I don't know if you have that, like a designer UI/UX team pointing out issues before they arise. Yeah, I think these are good indicators. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't give you like a black or white answer for that. And I mean, 5 years, it might take. So for some people, it takes longer. For some people, it doesn't. The problem is like time. Time is one thing, but like experience, as in, are you building always the same things? What tasks you do? This is all the factors into that, I would say. But yeah, if you want to give some additional info on that, happy to get a bit deeper into that. Adi Mitchell 67 asks, what main difference there is between useAsyncData and useFetch from TanStack Query? Oh yeah, that's a really good one as well. Let's have a look. So TanStack Query, let's open that. Don't have it on my profile here. And view, of course, is like useFetch in Nuxt. I would say it's more catered towards that, right? You basically have nothing else, then use asyncData, and then just do a $fetch with the URL. And of course, you have a few benefits with like auto watching query params. You have caching, what we implemented, partially implemented. We have that. We have a few benefits there. But TanStack Query goes a bit further on that, right? Like it is a bit more, I would even say, like flashed out in a way. It has different optimizations, but it's not that close. Like we can go through these things. Caching, yeah. Deduping, we have the two actually dedupe option for useAsyncData. Updating out of date data in the background, we can do that too. In theory, knowing where data is out of date depends a bit. I didn't dive into that much. So the whole idea is here, this is more or less useAsyncData / useFetch with a few more customization. For example, memoizing query results. And what else in there? Thank you. I'm planning on making a video on TanStack Query actually, because it's a pretty amazing tool around that. I still think useFetch, useAsyncData are pretty close to that. And thank you for the follow. And yeah, I think as I also said, I have to dive in a few things. For example, the parallel part is really interesting. Like right now, we can execute things in parallel with useFetch, right, on the client side. If we need it for server-side rendering, though, it doesn't work right now. So there is one open PR that hasn't been touched for a while. Parallel async, I think. Let's see. Also, there was like no blaming or anything. Just looking for. Hello, GitHub, please. Yeah. Open. No. Parallel here. Strategy parallel option for asyncData to avoid that issue, right? To avoid waterfalls. So that will be one big benefit, but right now it's not that much happening here. But that will be a big thing. Or data loaders from Vue, right? There is an RFC Vue router and data loaders where you can also make sure that your data is loaded in parallel. So this, I will link both real quick in a chat, so you're also aware of that. This RFC is pretty cool as well from Eduardo, who is doing the whole Vue router and Pina. And is also thinking about, okay, how to make that parallel, right? How to do parallel sequential fetching, for example. How to do lazy non-blocking behavior like Nuxt did was also mentioned in here. So there are quite a few things. But for example, with TanStack Query, you still can't solve the issue of parallel queries doing server-side rendering, because it's not limitation of like useFetch useAsyncData, but just how Nuxt is handling them. And you would still have to wrap these things in useAsyncData eventually, if you need it for server-side rendering, of course. That's very important. Yeah. Of course, like background fetching is something that's really nice, that is not one by one implemented in Nuxt, but could be could also happen, window refocusing and so on. So there are a few more things for sure that this does pretty well. I know it also has a very own dedicated page for Nuxt 3 with like, okay, use useState, for example, set up the query client and provide that. Definitely works. Or you do the same with wrap it in useAsyncData. But yeah, this is of course a bit better version of that. There's a model in development for Nuxt. That's cool. That's really nice to hear that. That's great. Also very important, of course, does TanStack Query replace Vuex, Pino, other global state manager? And it's like, it depends, but well, it's more of a server state versus client state. I agree here. All right, I hope that briefly answered it. Though, as I said, I will dig a bit deeper into TanStack Query when I find time for that, because it is pretty amazing plugin, and even better that the module doesn't work. So that's cool. Very happy to hear that. Very happy that the answer was awesome. All right. I think, as I said, it might be time now to move over. But who to choose? That's the difficult part. Software development is a big pond. And who is streaming? Anybody I know? Let's quickly check. I don't think so. But then we find someone who's doing some maybe Vue, maybe JS, and move you all over there while you're enjoying your evening. All right, let's full stack development, Vue, Nuxt, and Nest. Why not? That sounds like a fun option. So let's do that. Let's do /raid. And we go to Dabster. That's the way. All right, folks, it was a pleasure. Really enjoy the rest of your evening. See you soon during the next stream. Not sure when it will be, but I will keep you posted. Otherwise, see you on YouTube. This VOD will be available. See you every Friday for new videos. Follow everybody around. And as usual here, I dump my socials on you. There you go. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful day, evening, whatever it is in time zone. See you around. Bye-bye.